My image defines my worth.
I must stay positive.
I'm fine.
No one cares.
I am unlovable.
I must do it
My
alone.
story isn't important.
It's okay to be honest. I am enough.
Somebody cares.
I do not have to do this alone.
I am imperfectly perfect.
My beauty comes from within.
My voice matters.
I am loved. It's okay to not be okay.
My story has value.
All right, so today we're going to talk about another lie. And we're spending all of these 10 days breaking down different lies. And like we had acknowledged earlier, in many ways, these are connected, right? In many ways, because it's a journey, because mental health, mental wellness is something that is a journey for all of us for our life. We can be in good places on the journey, but it's still always a part of the journey, right? And today, the lie that we're looking at is the lie that I'm unlovable. And I think that we can hear this and probably immediately, like, almost feel an emotion, right? When you hear the phrase, I'm unlovable, you can almost, like, feel that emotion.
Yeah, I definitely think a big part of the feeling of I'm unlovable is when you don't meet an expectation that either you set for yourself or someone set for you. Or specifically, like, maybe your parent is like, you should get like all A's this year, and you don't do that. You don't get all A's, and you just feel like you've kind of failed them in a way, and you feel like I've been a horrible kid, like I haven't been a good kid to them. They're like a great parent, and you probably feel like a little bit of guilt almost.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was thinking about that that almost like that self-love is so important. You were saying like expectations you set for yourself. Because I think you can be told you're loved so many times, but if you don't love yourself, how does it matter? You know, I mean, it takes that like self-understanding, I think, to like get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus even tells us that to love your neighbors as yourself. So he was telling us, like, we are to love ourselves, and the love that we want to see ourselves is like how we should be sharing the love with others. But I think it's so hard for us to like actually, when we dig down deep into it, to like actually do that though. It's like, oh, I'm going to go help my neighbor. I want to go show them, you know, I care and I love them. But then you're putting all this pressure on yourself, or you feel all this pressure and you're like, oh, I can't be loved because I messed up on this, or I got a B on my tests. And so then we're kind of forgetting to actually love ourselves for who we are.
And I saw something somewhere that kind of reminds me of that, and it says, would you let someone talk to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself? And if the answer is no, you should love yourself.
Yeah, change that.
Yeah.
That's really good way of thinking. Wow.
And I think it's just important to like, I think we feel we should be modest, and we should be, if someone compliments us, be like, oh no. And I think it's okay to love yourself. I think it's okay to say to yourself, wow, I did a good job today, and I'm proud of myself. And you don't have to be like, oh, like, I don't like the way I did that. You don't have to pick yourself apart, because you need to love yourself. You're like the only person that like you know for sure like you can count on, because you're yourself. So you should learn to trust yourself. And
Yeah,
love yourself.
and I read recently something that said, you'll never talk to anybody else in the world more than you talk to yourself.
See, I took a class last year called Serve, Lead, Learn, and in it we had to do this activity where we like had a piece of paper and we had to like write down 5 things we liked about like ourself, not like physical. And I was like, okay, you know, like I got a few. And then once you get down, it's like, oh, this is hard. And then we had to do the same thing, but like physical. What do you like about yourself? That's like, it was so hard for me. I was like, oh my gosh. And our teacher was like, I could give you guys things, like I could just list things off. And I was like, yeah. It's like, that's a really hard question to answer, you know. And I think like a lot of people find that hard to like list things that you like about yourself, because I think as society, we kind of are like, oh, like that's narcissism. Like you're being like loving yourself is like greedy, but I really think it's like healthy. I mean, there's like a difference in levels, but you need to love yourself to like get by.
And it's okay to be disappointed in yourself sometimes. You don't always have to be like all like, I love myself and that will never change. And because sometimes like feeling like I love myself so much, it doesn't feel great. And so I think when it comes to loving yourself, you worry about that. But it's okay to be disappointed in yourself. It's okay to say, I should do better next time. It's okay to make notes. But I think in today's society, that's all we do. That's all the self-talk that we have. And it needs to be 75% love. And we all have days when we're feeling down, but it needs to be 75% love.
Well, I think that's made me think of a conversation I had years ago, and I was struggling with trying to love others, and I think at the end of the day, it was probably rooted in where we're going with this, with loving yourself. And I remember this person said to me, we are always called to love, but there are times where there's things and moments that we don't like. And that doesn't mean that we aren't loved or don't love others in those moments. But there are moments where we're like, I didn't like that. And that really got me thinking, it was easy to see that with someone else. Like, this person, I love them, but what they did hurt me. I don't like that. But I think to Soli's point, when we're talking about how we view ourselves, and if we view ourselves in love, we can love ourselves, but still have a reality of I don't like that choice I made.
And you are not your actions, you are not your feelings, you are you, but sometimes there's things that you don't like.
Yeah, and that really at the end of the day, loving ourselves is acknowledging those as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I see it as we're all human. We're all gonna mess up. We're all gonna wish we did something else. We're all gonna go down the rabbit hole of oh, I should have done this and this and this. Like we're all human in that way. But I think that it's so important to then see the positive. And when somebody does compliment you of taking that and knowing that you don't have to shy away from that, or you don't have to be embarrassed by that, and that it's just all part of who you are and how they see you, and maybe even a good point of you seeing oh wow, I am very compassionate in that, and that's okay. I can love myself about that.
Yeah, so I think we've had a good conversation around breaking down that lie of I'm unlovable by seeing that it is based in how we love and care for ourselves, right? But there's the other side of it and I think it is related to loving ourselves, but other side of acknowledging that there are people around us that love us, that we previously, earlier on in 10 for 10, we talked about that we're not alone. And I think that's tied, right? A reminder that there are people that do love us. What are ways that are, I don't know how to ask this, maybe what helps you? What are things that others do that help you know that you are loved?
Sometimes something that I do for myself is I will apologize to myself, which is kind of weird, but I'll find myself just sitting in my room and I'll just be nitpicking myself, and I'll be oh, I don't like this about myself, I don't like this. And then I'll be I'm sorry. I'm being so mean. And then I'll just take a step back, and then I'll go be with my family and spend time with my family. And sometimes I feel just being with others and not just focusing on yourself a little bit, just staring in the mirror. Sometimes you have to look at other people, and you have to realize that we're all human.
Well, and also, I mean, I don't know if you guys know what love languages are, but I feel everybody finds love in different ways, and learning what you need and then letting your close like people close to you know, so they know how to like love you. And also like that goes both ways. It's really important that you like every party like knows how to love each other in the best way. I think that's really important, that communication, so then everybody's feeling loved in the way that they need to be loved.
Yeah. Also, I think honestly, just a simple "I love you" or "I am here for you," just hearing someone that you love say that to you meaningfully, not just like a quick text being like "I love you, good night" or something like that, but like really making eye contact and like in that moment actually hearing them can be really, really great.
Mhm. And I was thinking about that, in this conversation, Stephanie and I are both up here for that, but there's something that that she does that reminds me I'm loved. There's lots of things. One of them is if I'm having a bad day or feeling down, not feeling as loved, actually one of the most loving things she does is she says, go outside. And not like in a like get out of the house way, but like in a go outside. Like being outside, she knows that that's something that like really helps me like kind of take a breath and connect with myself and with the world again. And so like sometimes it is the words "I love you," and sometimes it's somebody loving you enough to know what that thing is that you need and like encouraging that out of you too. And being able, I think the other side of that is being able to accept it, and then act on that offer as well. Thank you for, again, being a part of these conversations. Today, we looked at the lie, had conversations around this lie that we're unlovable. And this is something that is real. We feel this way sometimes. Sometimes it's this pressure, this idea we put on ourselves, and sometimes we're just treated poorly. Sometimes we hurt each other, and we're treated poorly, and it leads us to think that way. And that's a reality of life. But another reality is that we have people around us that love us, that care for us, and that we can dig into that together. Sometimes knowing that we're loved is knowing that someone's there to listen to us. So I hope that this conversation that we were part of today isn't the end of this topic for you, that you can bring this out into the world, whether it be opening up with somebody you trust about this topic or being a listening ear for somebody as well, so they know they are loved and listened to as well. There are resources of actually both sides of that available in the link, and a reminder of the resources available at all times, in moments where people are in danger, that you can have resources for professional help. We're here to have the conversations, but professional help is always the answer in moments of danger and when it's needed. Please join us as we continue this conversation around lies that we believe about ourselves, and as we break down these lies through conversations, both through these videos and the ones that we get to have continued through this experience as well. Looking forward to seeing you on day 6 of 10 for 10.